Hey, Jake Miller here, and I hope to teach you a few things that you may not have known about the War of 1812, maybe 5 facts you didn't know. The War of 1812 started June 18th, 1812, and that's when the Declaration of War was signed by President James Madison to go to war against Great Britain. The first fact that you may not have known is the Canadians look at this as a larger victory or holiday than we do. They really say that this was what established them as a great nation in this world. Second fact is Britain actually had their own Paul Revere. I mean, if you remember, in the American Revolutionary War, Paul Revere was the man who warned the Americans that the British were coming. The British were coming, but the British actually had their own Paul Revere, and it was a lady who warned the British that the Americans were coming, and that's actually what led to one of the first wars. New England was against the war from the beginning. They said it was Mr. Madison's war, it was not, America's war, and they said they didn't want any part of it. The people of Nantucket didn't want any part of it. They said this from day one of the War of 1812. They said it from day one. And for 2 straight years, they tried to secede from the Union, actually. So the Civil War, the South were actually not the first people to try to secede. It was actually the people of New England trying to secede from America, becoming their own government. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I did not know that. The fourth fact was that after D.C. was torched in August 24th of 1814 by the British, and all the government buildings around there, that our nation's capital was almost moved to another location because they thought that maybe Washington, D.C. was not fit to hold our nation's capital, which would be a huge milestone in our country's legacy and past, because that's all we know as our home front. It's where Olympus is, and that's just where everything has been, is Washington, D.C., and I thought that was pretty interesting. Fifth and final thing is, I don't know if you know this, but there was an unclear winner of the War of 1812 when the peace treaty was signed. Both sides decided to, sign it, become friends, become cool again, and that's why we are such great allies to this day. But so you could say they're both winners, but being biased, I would say that the American side won. The true losers of the war were the Indians, the Native Americans, because before the war, the British were helping them and fighting off the Americans and stopping westward expansion, so the Indians could have their own land. But once the British were signed the peace treaty, so they had to leave, then there was no one left to fight the Americans but them, and that just left great struggle and put a horrible name for the Native Americans, because it was just them against the government, and it just, I feel, led to their downfall. And little stability they have today, obviously they wouldn't with this day and age, but I feel like that really hurt them, was the loss of that war. But there's 5 facts, and I hope you learned something new that you didn't know about the War of 1812. Thanks.